So can you tell us a bit about Unwritten, just kind of what you do?
Yes. So Unwritten came about having been in marketing agencies for about 10 years. So I'd worked in a small agency in Newcastle. I was then headhunted by Robson Brown to go and work for them. And they, at the time, were the biggest advertising agency in the Northeast. So, of course, if you wanted a career in marketing, advertising, creative, that's where you went. And I went off to Robson Brown, leaving a job that I really loved actually at Blue Milk, and I took a pay drop. I went for less money, and I hated it. It wasn't for me at all. That agency was felt very much like a production line. I'd come from a really small agency, which was super creative, and you could do whatever you felt was best for the client to service them and meet the brief. I moved to a much more rigid agency, and just didn't find that enjoyable, didn't find I could make my mark on the clients or the workplace. So I left there and went off to back to a smaller agency that had been around for some time to manage and grow that agency with the intention of buying out the owner. I spent nearly 7 years at that agency with a buyout plan in place, which didn't quite happen. It all fell through. But at that point, Amy and I, who was my co-founder of Unwritten at the time, were both working in the same agency, had met way back when at Sage and worked through the agencies together. So great colleagues, great friends. And we were just a bit fed up of seeing how it could be done, but it wasn't being done. And we were both at a point in life where we decided it was time to, I guess, take that risk and do it for ourselves. And so we set Unwritten up just gone 8 years ago, actually. It was our birthday on the 30th.
Congrats.
So yeah, 8 years ago. And we set that up with a real strategic focus, as you would imagine. We were an agency that was always going to be strategy first. Always with strategy at the core of everything that we do, and the creative would come secondary. Not that the creative was any less important, of course, it had to be equally as brilliant, if not better. But for us, we really believed that good, effective creative had to come from a strategic foundation. And we felt there was a bit of a gap up in the Northeast for that type of agency. Some phenomenal creative agencies, which of course there was and still is. But none that were really focusing solely on strategic foundations and building. And so, yeah, we built that business, as I say, 8 years ago, and still doing the great work it has always done today.
How was it launching with the founder?
It was
with someone else,
amazing, absolutely brilliant. I mean, Amy and I are brilliant friends and brilliant colleagues. We were told, don't go into business with your mate, it'll never work. We were told 2 females running a creative agency will never work. We were told 2 people with similar skill sets would never work. And so we were pretty driven to prove everybody wrong when we set this business up. We weren't scathed by that at all, and we were kind of out to prove those people wrong. But we just were so very aligned with what we wanted to build and how we wanted to build it. And we literally worked day and night, as you do when you set up a business. We took all the risks that you would take in, removing the regular income of the salary that you have. We didn't want to take out huge loans, so we did it. We launched the business with nothing, with no revenue. We didn't eat for about 6 months. It was a absolutely wild ride, but it was brilliant, Steve. And I guess doing it with somebody who you really, really work well with is the best feeling, because we were just constantly on an adrenaline high. And whenever one of us felt a bit tired or knackered, or we made a wrong decision, or we weren't quite sure, the other one was there to back up, and vice versa. And it worked really, really well.
Did you ever disagree?
We laugh about this all the time. We were actually together last week and had this very conversation. In all the years we ran Unwritten together, in fact, in all the years we've been friends, because we've been friends for 20 years, we had one massive fallout, and it was over the planning of the Christmas party at Unwritten. No word of a lie. That is totally true. We had a big fallout over, I can't even remember the details now, but we had an argument over the planning of the Christmas party. And that is the only disagreement we ever had. And that's not to say we always agreed with each other. So, we'd have difference of opinions on creative briefs. We'd have difference of opinions on how we should approach and manage a client. We'd have different opinions on how we manage the team or grow the agency, but never, ever did we disagree. We would always come together with a common approach, and other than the Christmas party, which broke us, to be fair.
But it's just funny that I think it has to be done in the right way, that constructive challenge is what you need in a partner. That if you both just agree all the time, you don't need two people. And it's that balance of having the trust with people. So when I work with clients, when I've had something difficult I need to tell them, I always think back to actually Maureen, who's one of my clients based upstairs, will basically say to me, look, Steve, I pay you for your opinion. And you need that, because at the end of the day, you need, or you want to create a successful entity, whatever that is. It doesn't matter whose opinion is correct. It's whatever's right for the thing as you are. And, I do everything myself. There was a joke before we came on air, because when I was a guest on Lisa's show, she had a partner, I guess, called Maddie, who does everything, and Lisa just interviews. I don't have that, so I was running around clicking all the buttons. But I rarely get it, and I embrace it. And, I'm almost jealous in some ways of people that have businesses with teams. But the one thing that gets me, it's the worry and the risk of salaries and overheads and that kind of thing, that actually I personally would struggle to deal with that I would work every hour, every day, because I'd worry about John's wages in 6 months' time. And therefore I wouldn't enjoy it. So I purposely go this route and outsource stuff. But it's just, so I'm always fascinated when people kind of do what they do.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, the worry and the responsibility that you have when you have a team is like nothing else. It really is. And I don't think I probably ever really appreciated that until the pandemic hit. And up until that point, our business had been pretty much steady growth. We didn't have huge ups and downs. We knew the model really well. We were able to forecast and plan. And up until that point, I mean, I'm not a big worrier anyway. So for me, I always think it will be fine. And if it's suddenly not fine, I'll make sure it is fine. So I'll do whatever it takes to be fine. The pandemic brought a whole different dimension there, where our business fell off a cliff. I think we lost 83% of our revenue overnight. And I had the biggest team I'd ever had. And I had a 1,500 square foot office in the center of Newcastle. I mean, our overheads were outrageous. And so that brings a whole nother dimension of responsibility and worry. But you also can't do everything that you want to do on your own. And it's a lonely place on your own. Even when you're with a team, it can be a lonely place. But, those people who are in the business who are better at you than things that you're not so good at, or will challenge your opinions and it pushes you to be better, or, will really call out some of the things that you're not doing and it makes you better. That type of environment is brilliant to grow as a business leader, as it is, as well as growing as a business. So for me, I always try and bring people into Unwritten and Fabric who are ballsy, opinionated, confident enough to tell me when I'm wrong and that I should be doing it a different way, because it's important that it's not just my way. And 9 times out of 10, these people are way better at me than what they're challenging me on, and therefore they are right and I am wrong. Or we come to a common ground. But I love that challenge. Not always in the moment. Sometimes I find it a bit difficult, but I always love what that challenge brings as an output.
But I think it's that resilience.